Coming up on this episode of the Paw Report, we're talking about birds. Chaley Miller from PetSmart in Mattoon is here, and she's going to teach us all the things that we need to know if we're thinking about getting a bird at our house. Stay tuned, that's coming up next on the Paw Report. Production for the Paw Report is made possible by
Inyart Tire and Auto Center in Charleston and Mattoon. Inyart offers complete auto repair. Inyart Tire and Auto Center cares about our community and thanks you for being a responsible pet owner. More information at inyart.com.
Hello and welcome to the Paw Report. I'm your host, Kate Pleasant, and today I'm joined by Chaley Miller from PetSmart in Mattoon. Thanks for coming, Chaley.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Chaley, I guess you'd say, is a bird expert. You told me earlier you're a bird person, at least, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
And so tell me about your history with birds. You've had birds?
I've had them since a child, yeah.
And
always had a parakeet, or I've even went as far to have a blue and gold macaw, so.
Really?
Yes.
Are those rare?
Not anymore. They used to be, but not anymore.
Okay. And so what got you interested in birds even as a young kid?
I love them.
You just love birds?
I love them. I fed the wild birds as a child with my grandma, and I just love birds. They're just free and wonderful.
Okay. And so, you know, I don't know a lot about birds, so this will be very interesting for me and maybe some of those viewers out there that haven't had birds before either. If I was thinking about getting a bird, what are some things I would need to know?
Well, you would know, you could probably go online and look and see the different types of birds that you would like to have. The beginner bird would be your finches.
Like the ones that we have here on the table, right?
Yes, they're very easy to take care of. They cannot be domesticated.
Okay.
They don't like the hand.
Really?
Yeah.
So that, you know, they aren't the kind of birds that sit on your fingers.
No, if you took one as a, maybe after it hatched out of an egg and hand fed it, then maybe it might. Recently, I've heard of people finding little birds on the sidewalk that have been knocked out of the nest, and they're saving them.
Really?
And they're making pets out of them. I know a lady with a sparrow and a starling.
Really? That's different, because
Yeah.
you don't really hear about, you know, I guess, wild birds becoming domesticated very often.
Well, when they come out of the egg, they're going to attach to whatever's going to take care of them. So if it's a person, there you go. You'll be its mama.
So they make their imprint on whoever they see when they hatch out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so you said finches are good beginner birds. What would you classify as like a beginner bird? Why would you say that?
Because it's easy. They're easy to take care of. They're a joy to watch. They're always busy. They want to build nests. They lay tons of eggs.
Really?
So if you wanted to start out, I'd start out with either 2 females or 2 males.
So that you don't have lots of eggs?
Yeah, the females might go ahead and lay anyway, but they're not going to be fertilized eggs, so they're not going to hatch.
Okay. Can you talk about that a little bit? You know, laying eggs, how often birds generally do that, and the difference between the fertilized and the non-fertilized?
Okay, well, you need the male to have them fertilized, and you can candle them. If you pick the egg out of the nest, you can, you know, on your phone, you can have the flashlight and hold it up there. You'll see the yolk in it. Now, if it's not fertile, you're not going to see very much, but if it is, you're going to see that yolk.
So you get that round kind of yolk inside the egg there, and so that's how you can tell if it's fertile.
Yes, just like a little chicken egg.
I see. And so they're just like that. And so do most all birds lay eggs then?
Yes.
Okay. Female birds, I assume, right? Okay.
Exactly.
So what are some other good beginner birds? I know you said finches. What are some other ones?
Parakeets. Parakeets are excellent to have because you can tame them.
Really?
Takes a little patience. And once they tame, boy, they want to be on you all the time.
So they're the kind you could carry around or take with you? Or,
yes, you can.
Okay.
And if you keep their wings clipped so they can't fly away, then you're doing really good.
That was my next question, you know, about clipping wings. Is that a standard practice?
Yes, it is. Anymore it is.
Okay. And that just keeps them from flying away?
They can still fly, but they can't get any lift. They can't, you know, get up high.
Okay, so what's the advantage to that?
If it gets away from you, you can get it back pretty quick, especially if it's a big bird. A lot of people buy vests and jackets for them with the harness.
Really?
anymore. Yeah, and you can take them with you, so they
So
can't
is that
get
like
away.
a leash? Is it like a bird
Yeah.
leash?
It's a little vest that fits right on, and it has a little clip in the back with a leash.
Interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen a bird on a leash, so that would be something new.
Yeah.
Is that something you can buy at your garden variety pet store?
Yes, you
know?
can.
Okay. I never even thought about that. So you could take them outside that way and they couldn't get away?
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
So what kinds of equipment do you need if you're going to get a bird? What's your setup need to look like?
Well, this little cage is a travel cage. This is not something they would permanently live in. You would need a bigger cage, up to the biggest. You can buy flight cages. You would need, your seed or pellets. Sometimes people like putting them on pellets because that way it's not quite as messy. Seed, they haul that seed and them holes go everywhere. So then you need your perches and your water. You need paper for the bottom or any other corncob bedding.
I was going to say there's different types of bedding.
There's
as
different
well.
types of bedding. It's all to your preference, what you would like.
What are some of the differences? There's paper and then there's corncob. Is it just different absorbencies or?
Well, the corncob and also it's pelleted paper. It's like kitty litter, keeps the odor down. If you have a lot of birds, and that helps keep the odor down. This is just tissue paper.
So would you recommend people getting birds in pairs? Is it the kind of thing they like to have company?
Well, with finches, yes. Because there are society finches where they want to live in a society, and they love company of their own kind. You can mix societies and zebras.
And these are zebras,
Yes,
correct?
these are your zebra finches, and the little white one is a mutation. If it was a little gray male, it would have orange cheeks. That's how you tell the males from the females.
Okay, and is that, kind of similar, I think of cardinals a lot when you think of male and female birds. The females are actually less colorful and maybe, quote, pretty than the males. Is that kind of true throughout the bird community?
It's mostly the males are more colorful, and the females are duller. That way, if a predator comes after them, they're going to go after the pretty thing.
Okay, the males, so the females will stick around and be able to continue.
Right.
So, okay, and so you said, you need a cage, and do smaller birds need smaller cages, or are they fine in the
Not
giant
necessary.
cages?
Not necessary. They love flight cages, so they can fly around. Finches are excellent flyers.
And is that something that would take up a lot of space in your home, I guess?
Well, depending on your home and what kind of aviary habitat you want them to be set up in, a small cage is fine. It's all your preference and your size of home, what you would like to have.
So would a beginner need something like finches? I mean, can you take on something like an African gray, which are, I know, long-living birds?
Yes,
or do you
they
need some
are.
experience for different
Well,
types?
not necessary. You can just do all your research, find out everything you need to know and what you're going to expect. Because some of those parrots can live up to 80 years.
That is a long time. We think of a lot of companion animals like dogs and cats, 10, 20 years maximum, and you're talking here 80 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time
That's
for a pet.
you can hand that down, and to your kids.
If they're bird people.
Pass it on, yeah. And they get attached to one person. They want to be with that person all the time.
What are bird personalities like? Because with dogs and cats, it's a loyalty thing. There's some interaction. Is there that with birds?
There is. They know you. They know who you are, and they know what to expect from you, and what you're going to do for them. They depend on everything. Their little lives depends on you.
So they kind of form a bond just like a dog or a cat
They
might
do.
as well.
They do.
And what is it that you enjoy so much about having birds?
I just love to watch them. Little finches are busy all the time.
These guys have been pretty quiet. here
They
today
have.
in the
Well, they're in
studio.
unfamiliar surroundings,
Right.
and they're in the little cage. They don't care too much for that. But they were singing on the way over.
Really?
So yeah. So
In the car, huh?
yeah. So they're doing pretty good.
What is the care of a bird like? What's a daily routine like with birds?
A daily routine. You want to make sure they have fresh food. Even if there's old seed in the cup, it's best to replace it with fresh, and fresh water. Anything you would like to have for yourself. And you want to give them fresh paper. And if there's spot cleaning, You know, if the perches are dirty or some parts of the cage is dirty, you want to spot clean that off. And then weekly, it'd be best to take the birds out and disinfect everything.
Okay, so would you put them in a cage like this at
Yes,
that time maybe?
this would be perfect.
And what do you recommend for disinfecting?
What I use at home is vinegar and water. It's a great disinfectant. You don't want to use anything with chemicals in it because birds are very sensitive to it, even dish soap. You can use dish soap, but you have to rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse because some of that residue can be left on plastic and even on glass. So they'll be getting that in their little systems.
So vinegar is probably a good bet because it's nice and
Yeah,
natural.
vinegar and water.
That's something most people probably have on hand at
Sure,
home.
it is, because you know it's great for cleaning windows and glass or mirrors.
Right. So what about being dirty? I know before we came on, you talked about birds don't really like to be dirty.
No, they don't. They want a clean environment, and they just love it when you finally do clean them up.
You can tell?
Yeah, they just get so excited, and when they love vegetables. The mixed frozen vegetables are really good, and when you give them those vegetables after you've cleaned them up, and they're just so excited and happy. My birds at home know when I'm fixing them vegetables, and they're hanging on the side of the cage, just chirping and carrying on, and waiting for me.
How many birds do you have at home?
I have way too many.
It's so many you don't even count, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, not really. I've got 8 parakeets right now, and I've got 12 finches and 2 canaries.
Wow, that's a few birds.
Yes. Well, some of them I've rescued. People buy things and then they decide they don't want them anymore, and so I'll take it.
Is that something around here, that if someone bought one and didn't want it, do they take it to a shelter, or do they end up coming back into pet stores?
You can take, Coles County will take, or any of the shelters probably would take it. There's also a rescue in Champaign, and they will take them. I think there's a fee that you have to pay for them to take it.
Sure. Well, because then they have to keep that,
Yes.
and maintain it until they can find it a home. So, but what would you recommend to people so that doesn't happen? What do they need to know so that they don't get tired of a bird, or so they don't get one in the first place?
Well, they need to thoroughly do their research. That's why I brought these books. These books are excellent for telling all about, their requirements. Food and housings, and it tells all about their bodies and what they look like, their characteristics, how long they live. Some, like I told you, some birds can live to 80 years.
Right. That's a big commitment.
Finches' lifespan's anywhere from 5 to 8.
Okay, so more like a dog or a cat, maybe closer.
Yeah.
A little less.
Now your parakeets, they can go from 10 to 12, canaries 15. So, you got to think about these things if you're going to get a pet, because they need maintenance,
right,
and requirements. So, but the joy that I get from just watching them is enough to warrant me doing the maintenance and spending the money on the food. You have to think about, the money thing too.
That was going to be my next question. Money, what does it cost to get a setup going, and then what does it cost in food?
Well, for these 2 finches, and if you were starting from scratch with a new cage, depending on your cage size, it would probably be close to $60.
So that would be set up. And then I assume, you always hear eat like a bird. Do they eat very much?
Oh, yes, they do.
They eat a lot?
Yes, they do.
So really when we say eat like a bird, we should really mean you're eating a lot.
Yeah, because I don't know where that ever came from.
It is a funny thing.
Yeah, they have very high metabolisms.
So they eat constantly?
They eat constantly.
Okay. And I would assume that, it's similar to other pet food, cat food, dog food, that there's different kinds of qualities and different costs involved.
Yes, there is. You can buy, generic seed, or you can buy the best seed there is. There's different brands. You just have to read the ingredients, just like in people food.
Do birds have common problems? Like certain breeds of dogs and things have hip dysplasia and common problems like that. Do birds have problems that are notable?
They can have. They can get respiratory infections. They can't be exposed to air fresheners.
Interesting.
There's chemicals in that, even the spray and the plug-ins. or any kind of bleach cleaners, floor cleaners, that kind of thing. If you keep them in the kitchen, your cookware puts off toxic fumes if you get it too hot.
I see. That's something I wouldn't have considered.
Yes, and your oven cleaners and your self-cleaning oven will kill a bird.
Really?
Yes, if you have birds and you want to use your self-cleaning oven, it's best to take them out of the house.
Fully outside the home then,
Yes.
not just into another room?
No,
Okay.
because it goes all through the house.
Is that the same with cleaning in general? If you're going to use chemicals and things like that, should you remove the birds from the house?
I do. And candles. Candles are a bad thing for them too.
I guess they would have the scents and the chemicals in them as well.
And yeah, they put out the smoke, and some of the candle are lead wicks. So you're burning lead, and it's bad for the little things.
Those are things that we probably do every day that we wouldn't consider, but
I
it'd be
know.
good to know if you had
Yeah,
birds.
you don't think about a lot of that.
Is there an ideal placement for a bird cage in a home? I mean, is there a spot they like to be?
Well, they need natural daylight. And if you're going to have them in a dark room, you're going to need a UVB light on them, because they need that light. They can actually be colorblind without the UVB light.
Interesting. So maybe by a window.
Yeah, but not a sunny window. I mean, if it just got a little sun, like a morning sun, that would be perfect. But evening, afternoon sun, and it can be pretty hot.
So they are temperature sensitive.
Yes, they can get heat exhaustion.
And so is there a certain temperature you should keep your home? I know they say there's certain temperatures for animals, things like that, shouldn't get above and below. Most animals are pretty tolerant, but what about birds?
Well, they're pretty tolerant. These little guys, they need a temperature of, 72 to 85, they'd be fine. But most people keep their houses at that. Even 68 is not too cold.
Okay.
But they can get chills, and that will bring on the respiratory or other infections, and they succumb pretty quick.
Really?
Yes.
How would you know that a bird had a respiratory infection?
It would sit there all fluffed up and have its head tucked in. All the other ones will be active around it, or it'll sit in the floor. By the time a bird will show any signs of stress or illness, it's pretty far gone.
Really?
Because in the wild, they protect themselves. They don't let anything know that they're ill.
Because they would be, predator-ized.
Yes, they have a lot of predators after them. And
so is there veterinary checkups that are required for birds?
not required, no. But if they get ill, you'd want to take them to the vet, because they do suffer.
So I assume, could your average veterinarian see a bird, or do you have to go to a special one, or?
Well, it would depend on the vet. Some vets refuse.
Some vets don't do birds.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the U of I has a great aviary veterinarian there. There's also an all creatures animal hospital. They take care of birds too.
Okay, so there are options in our area for
Yes, there
to
is.
see birds if
Yes,
you can't,
there
if your
is.
normal veterinarian can't or won't see birds.
Right, there is plenty of options. You can even call your vet, and there's a lot of information online. And these books always have a health, understanding your bird, and a health ailments in here,
For
and it
different
gives you
breeds and things like that. How to
Yes.
diagnose those or see them, I guess.
exactly what you're looking for, and a lot of times they tell you what to do,
Okay.
so you can do it yourself.
So you can help treat the bird at home, maybe.
Right.
Okay, so maybe they're not quite as complicated as some other
I
animals.
don't think they
then.
are. Sometimes just a teaspoon of honey in their water will straighten them right out.
Really?
Yeah.
So home remedies work too.
Yes, they do.
That's very interesting. Birds, quite interesting. I'm learning a lot today. They're very interesting
Well,
little
I'm
creatures.
glad.
So is there types of birds that talk and things like that?
Yes, there
I know
is.
people are very interested in those kinds of birds.
Your
so.
parrots, your parakeets will talk too.
Do they talk less?
It takes them a while, and they're not quite as or you can't really understand them as well. You can hear their words every now and then.
But they're not quite as clear.
Yeah, with your macaws and your African greys and those types, they can really talk.
And is it an intelligence factor? I mean, are they easy to teach?
The males are mostly the ones that will talk. You just have to, it's repetitive. You just have to keep repeating what you want it to say.
Okay.
And once it hears it enough, it doesn't think it's a bird anymore, so it's going to start talking.
So they mimic sounds. Is that kind of what they're doing?
Right.
I know that I've had friends with birds or heard stories about birds, you know, and if they hear something enough, they start repeating it. You know, the sound of a door creaking or a word that they hear somebody say
Or
often.
something on TV. A lot of Andy Griffith song.
I taught a bird that when I was a kid. My neighbor down the street had a parakeet, I think it was, and it could only do like the first 4 notes because it wasn't quite as, he later got an African gray that could actually do a lot more. But this bird started with the Andy Griffith theme song, and he would say, Polly want a cracker, because, you know, that's a good common one for birds, I guess.
It is.
So what else, you know, would you tell somebody that came in and said, I think I want a bird? What else would you say to them?
Well, I would just tell them, you know, which bird are you interested in?
Is it a lot looks? You know, when people come in, do they like what certain birds look like?
It is. It's a lot of looks, especially with your parakeets, because they're all different colors. Mm-hmm. And some people prefer a yellow over a green or vice versa, you know.
And I guess it would be what you'd want to look at every day because you're going to have that bird in your home. Exactly. So it can come down to looks. And preference as well, I guess, if you want a songbird or one of the birds that talks. Are there birds that are quieter than others?
Yes, there is, you know.
So if you didn't want a bird that talked, really?
Your female canaries don't make a whole lot of noise. Mm-hmm. They will sing a little bit, but not a whole lot. Whereas your males can really be loud. Really sing. But then other times they don't sing at all, so they're not making any noise at all.
Do birds get along good with other animals in the home? I mean, are they safe to have in the home with dogs or cats or reptiles?
You have to be cautious. You have to be cautious, especially if you let your bird fly around. Now with your parrots, you have to accustom your parrot to the dog and your cat.
How do you do that?
Introduce them.
Okay. So,
slowly.
I mean, is this a cage-to-face thing, or is this a face-to-face thing?
A face-to-face I would do if your parrot is already tame. Now, the smaller birds, I would keep them away.
Just keep them up higher, maybe, if you were going to have them in the home.
Especially from cats, because cats, they automatically want to, you know, kill birds.
It's an instinct.
It is. It is their instinct. They can't help it.
You see it in cartoons. You know, the cat's always after the bird.
Yeah.
So I guess it's true in real life too.
It is.
Okay. So is there any other recommendations you would make? What about children and birds? You know, is that is it a good?
Children are usually really good around birds.
Really?
Because they want to learn, and they want to know, and most kids respect other lives. You know, the animals. Kids are pretty good with birds.
So it wouldn't.
They're patient too.
It wouldn't make a bad pet at home, maybe for children.
No,
as well.
they would not make a bad pet at all.
Okay. Well, Chaley Miller from PetSmart in Mattoon, we appreciate you coming in and teaching us a little bit about birds and bringing these beautiful finches in today. So hopefully everybody has a little bit better idea of what it's all about to have a bird at home.
Well, I hope so too. And I mean, it's a nice pet to have, you know.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in
today. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a video or photo of your pet doing something funny or absolutely adorable? We'd love to share it with our viewers here at the Paw Report. Email it to weiu@weiu.net and you can see it on our show. Just make sure it's video taken by you or that you have permission to share it. For more information about how to get that video or photo to us, email or call 217-581-5956.
Did you know full episodes of the Paw Report are on YouTube? They can be accessed at www.youtube.com/WEIUTV. Then just go to the Paw Report playlist and select the episode you want to see. More information about the show is also available 24/7 on our website at weiu.net under the Television tab. Production for the Paw Report is made possible by
Inyart Tire and Auto Center in Charleston and Mattoon. Inyart offers complete auto repair. Inyart Tire and Auto Center cares about our community and thanks you for being a responsible pet owner. More information at inyart.com.